Echoes of Us, written by Azalea Moon. Season 2, Episode 2.
Darkness. Wait. My head is pounding. A deep, relentless ache behind my eyes. I try to open them, but they feel like they're glued shut. It takes a moment before I can force them open. When I finally do, a woman is sitting across from me in a chair, staring at me like she's seen a ghost. The moment our eyes meet, she bolts upright and rushes to my bedside, grabbing my hand. For a second, I think I'm dreaming, because she looks like Camila. Older, though, her hair different, her face lined with time. But the resemblance is uncanny, enough to make my chest tighten. I try to speak, but nothing comes out. My throat burns. My ears ring with this low hum, like static inside my skull, drowning out her words. She's talking to me. I can see her mouth moving, but it's all muffled, distant. She shouts something toward the door, and a second woman rushes in, a nurse by the look of it. She starts checking my pulse, adjusting something on a monitor I hadn't noticed before. The beeping, it blends with the hum in my head. None of it makes sense. Where am I? Who are these people? My body feels heavy. The room spins. The edges of my vision blur. This has to be a dream. It's the only thing that makes sense. I try to remember the last thing I did. Camila. She was in my house. I left her there. Then, Mari. She dropped me off at the apartment. I was walking to my door, and then, nothing. The thought dissolves. My eyelids drop. I can't fight it. Darkness again. When I wake again, it's quiet. The lights are dim. Only a single nightlight glowing above the bed. The chair is empty. The woman is gone. And that's when I realize something's wrong. I try to move my hands, but they don't move. Metal bites into my wrists. Handcuffs. Panic floods through me. Oh. The beeping is louder now, the only sound in the room. My heart is racing, my head still throbbing. And then, a flash. The memory hits me like a hammer. I was unlocking my door, two men, a struggle. Something slammed into my head, maybe the butt of a gun. And then, nothing. I've been kidnapped. I twist against the cuffs, scanning the room. My clothes are still on, but my watch is gone. My phone is gone. No personal effects, just sterile walls and cold air. I call out, "Hello? Anyone here? Show your face." The door bursts open. The same woman from before, eyes wide.
"Please, calm down. You have a head injury. Yelling will only make the pain worse,"
she says, rushing to my side. "Where am I?" I demand, voice hoarse. Quickly, she replies,
"I don't have answers for you. I only work here, but I'll call Angela. She'll explain everything."
Before I can speak again, she's gone. The door slams shut. I'm alone. Again. Angela. Who the heck is Angela? My thoughts drift back to Camila. Is she safe? The pain in my skull deepens, and the darkness pulls me under again. When I wake next, sunlight leaks through the blinds. I hear voices outside the room, a man and a woman arguing. The woman's voice cuts through the air.
"You were supposed to wait."
Footsteps approach. The door opens and my heart stops. Victor walks in. I'm shouting before I have time to process. What the fuck? Victor? What the fuck? Victor? He looks older, tired, but that same smug energy radiates off him. I can't even form the words before another figure steps in behind him. And my breath catches. It's her, the woman from before. Only now, with the light hitting her face, I see it clearly. Camila, but not. Older, wiser, the same eyes, the same quiet fire. No, that's not possible. It hits me. I've seen her face before, in photos. At that barbecue years ago, Camila's mother, Angela. She crosses the room slowly, her gaze soft but unwavering, and touches my cheek with a tenderness that feels completely out of place here.
"I'm sorry, this is how we're meeting again."
She glances over her shoulder at Victor, her expression shifting to irritation. I'm frozen, mind spinning.
"I'm Angela, Camila's mother."
I blink hard, trying to make sense of it. I know. We thought you were dead. She exhales slowly.
"In a way, I was, but your brother here helped me find my way back."
My jaw tightens. She continues,
I'd like to uncuff you. This wasn't my intention. I wanted to talk privately away from Camila to explain myself, but your brother,
she shoots Victor a look.
he doesn't follow instructions. Do you trust me, Sebastián? I'd like to remove the cuffs, but I need your word you won't do anything reckless.
I give a curt nod. Angela signals to Victor, who steps forward hesitantly. The second the cuffs click open, I swing with every ounce of strength I have left. My fist connects with his jaw. Victor hits the floor hard, groaning. Angela steps between us, hands raised.
Enough.
I unclench my fists, chest heaving, and glance toward the doorway, where two large men stand guard, silent and watchful. Angela follows my eyes.
They are with me. They are not here to hurt you. We flew into this mess. Some of my contacts helped your brother, and let's just say they've learned their lesson about listening to him.
She gestures, and one of them walks over, handing me something. It's my gun. I stare at it in disbelief. The guard extends it, grip first. I hesitate, then take it, checking it with an instinctive flick of my thumb. Loaded, safety on. Angela tilts her head, studying me with faint amusement.
From what I've heard, you don't miss. So consider this my show of trust.
She lowers herself into the chair across from me, folds her hands.
Do you trust me now? Because I'm trusting you.
I look between her and Victor, who's rubbing his jaw, refusing to meet my eyes, and finally ask, have either of you had contact with Camila?
She's safe. Wherever you have her hidden, I know she's all right. Thank you for protecting my baby girl.
Her eyes soften.
I always knew she'd be safe with you. And I'm sorry it took this long for you two to find your way back.
I lean forward, still dizzy, but I can't keep quiet. If all you wanted to do was talk, then how the hell did I end up in a hospital bed, if this even is a hospital? Angela exhales softly, folding her hands in her lap.
Your brother doesn't exactly believe in subtlety. Between his temper and my overzealous associates, things got complicated. You were hit hard, Sebastián. Hard enough that I wasn't sure you'd wake up. So yes, I had you brought here.
She gestures faintly around the room.
The woman who's been caring for you? She's a retired doctor, an old friend, someone I trust with my life. The injury is minor. You'll have headaches, maybe some dizziness, but you're not in danger.
I glance toward Victor, who's standing by the window, his back turned. He's pretending to study the gray light outside, anything to avoid my eyes. I bring my focus back to Angela and say, so back to Camila, you've been watching her? Angela nods, and for the first time, her composure cracks. Her eyes glisten.
Ever since I heard about Jorge's death, I made sure she was protected, monitored, even when I couldn't be near her. I needed to know she was safe.
I stare at her, trying to process the words, the calm certainty in her voice. You've been alive all this time, watching her from the shadows. Why not explain yourself to your daughter? Angela's gaze hardens, not defensive, just weary.
Because if I show my face to her, I sign her death sentence.
She stands, moves to the small window beside Victor. Her reflection in the glass looks like a ghost. Half here, half gone.
Tonight wasn't part of the plan, but fate doesn't wait for perfect timing. You're here now, and whether you realize it or not, you're the only person who can help end this.
She turns back toward me, her tone lower, heavier.
20 years of betrayal, heartache, and blood, all of it leads here, to us, to this room.
I feel my chest tighten. It's the first time since waking up that I forget the pain in my head. Because whatever this is, whatever she's about to tell me, it's bigger than Victor's mess, bigger than any of us. And I have the sinking feeling I've only heard the beginning. I keep my eyes on her. My pulse hasn't slowed since she started talking, and I still don't know if this is a conversation or an interrogation. All right, you said I'm the only one who can help. So tell me, Angela, what exactly are your plans? Angela folds her hands slowly, studying me like she's deciding how much truth to give. Then her expression shifts, calm but weighted.
For you to understand the full picture, I have to take you back to 1999. That's when I made the worst decision of my life, and set in motion everything that followed.
Angela glances toward one of the guards.
Tony, please serve us some drinks.
I shake my head. No, I'm good. Tony still sets a bottle of water beside me before leaving. A moment later, he returns carrying a tray. 2 glasses, one empty, one filled with what looks like whiskey. He places them on the small table between us, then steps aside. I hesitate, but my throat feels like sandpaper. I twist the cap off the water bottle and take a long drink. The cold hits hard, grounding me. Angela gives a faint smile, finally taking her glass in hand. She doesn't drink yet, just stares into the amber liquid like it's a mirror to another time. Then she begins.
In 1999, I was young, ambitious, and convinced I could protect everyone I loved. Jorge, my family, even the people I shouldn't have trusted. But that year, I crossed a line.
She leans back, her voice soft but sharp, carrying that tone only people who've lived with guilt can hold.
Jorge and I were going through a rough time back then. He was so focused on his record label, always in meetings, always chasing the next artist, the next deal. And I was just there, a housewife with no purpose, no job, no degree, just silence, and a teenage daughter I loved more than life but barely recognized anymore. That summer, Jorge signed a new artist, some young kid with talent and attitude, and we went out one night to watch him perform at this little club in Manhattan. The place was loud, crowded, full of smoke and laughter. I remember feeling alive for the first time in months. That's when Don entered. He walked into our VIP section with 2 men at his side and greeted Jorge like an old friend, a brother, almost. They hugged, laughed, started reminiscing. Apparently they'd lost touch years ago, but seeing each other again felt dangerous, like they'd shared secrets once, the kind that never really die. After that night, Don started showing up more often. At first it was harmless, business talk, catching up. But then he started coming by when Jorge was away, said he wanted to make sure Camila and I were doing all right. I was naive, flattered even. He gave me attention I hadn't felt in years. And I needed it. God help me, I needed it. I never imagined my life would turn into this. The lonely wife forgotten in a big empty house while her husband built his empire. I wanted to feel seen again. And Don, he knew exactly how to make that happen. One weekend late that year, for it was on a trip. Camila was staying over at her friend Maggie's house. I was alone. That's when Don called, said he wanted to take me out to dinner, somewhere nice. I hesitated, but I went. He sent a card for me, an address, and jewelry. I should have said no. I knew I should have. But when I saw myself in the mirror, I didn't recognize that woman. I looked alive, desired. Dinner was perfect, the kind of night that sweeps you off your feet, fine wine, music, laughter that made me forget who I was supposed to be. Afterward, Don offered to drive me home, but he didn't. He took me across the bridge to his place in New Jersey. A mansion, marble floors, art on the walls, the kind of wealth you could feel just standing in the doorway. And when he leaned in to kiss me, I didn't stop him. That moment, that single stupid moment, is when everything changed. That's when I started my affair. And that's where all of this began, the betrayal, the lies, the chain of events that led to Jorge's death and to the people who have very high interest in Camila still today.
Angela stops talking and takes a deep breath. The silence stretches, heavy between us. She looks up, her eyes steady but cautious.
Any questions so far?
I'm stuck, halfway between disbelief and fury. That name, Don. The word alone makes my chest tighten. That's the man my team's been chasing for years, the ghost behind every lead that's gone cold, the one who's been pulling the strings, the puppeteer behind everything that went wrong in my life. He's the man Victor fears. The man I once saw Victor meeting with behind the studio, whispering like a coward in the dark. And now I find out he knew Jorge, he knew Angela. All this time he's been in the center of everything. I force my face to stay calm, my voice even. Angela's question lingers, and I finally manage to reply. Not yet, I manage, still wrapping my head around all this. Angela nods slowly, as if she expected that. She takes a moment, then continues.
Okay, let's continue then. After a few months of sneaking around with Don, he introduced me to cocaine. I'd never touched drugs in my life. Jorge didn't tolerate that sort of thing. He was disciplined, focused, the kind of man who believed temptation only existed for the weak. But I was already lost in the attention Don gave me. When he offered me a line, he made it sound harmless, fun even. He said it would make everything feel better, sharper, more alive, and that the sex would be unforgettable. I tried it, and I loved it. Soon it became our thing. Every time we were together, it was there, a part of the ritual. And Jorge, he was always busy, always gone. By 2001, I was addicted to both Don and the high. Looking back now, I know what he was doing. He knew I wouldn't keep coming back for him alone, but for the drug, for the control it gave him over me. I never brought it home. I couldn't risk it. Camila was too young, too smart. Jorge would have noticed. And he did notice something. My shaking hands, my weight loss. The way I couldn't sit still. When he asked, I lied, said I was taking night classes, but the stress was getting to me. But I wasn't going to class. I was spending my days and nights with Don.
Her voice falters for the first time, and for a second I see the cracks, the regret, the shame. I want to hate her, but all I can think about is Camila, 14 years old, watching her family fall apart without knowing why. And Don, sitting somewhere in the dark, smiling, pulling every string.
The Labor Day barbecue of that year, that's when everything fell apart. After the party ended, Jorge confronted me. Someone had told him they'd seen me out with Don. I tried to deny it, but he knew. I broke down. Told him I was sorry, told him it was a mistake, and that I'd end things. But Jorge was furious. He grabbed his keys and stormed out. I didn't know where he was going or what he was planning to do. I panicked. So I called Don. He sent a car for me. Camila was still in the backyard with you, Sebastián. You two were deep in conversation, laughing about something, completely unaware that my entire life was imploding inside that house. I went to see Don that night, intending to end things once and for all, to fix my marriage, to fix myself. But Don, he was persuasive. He cried, begged me to stay, said he couldn't live without me. I told him it had to end, that I loved my husband and my daughter too much to keep lying. He pretended to accept it. Even suggested we have one last night together. And like a fool, I agreed. Because by then, I thought what I felt was love. That night, he drove me to his home in New Jersey. We drank too much, did too much cocaine. The night spun out of control. At some point, he told me he wanted to take me to Miami. Just for a few days to clear my head. I was too high to argue, too lost to think. The next thing I remember, we were on a plane. I barely recall the flight. Don kept me high for 3 days straight. Like he never wanted me to sober up. When I finally started to come down, I asked him to take me home. That's when everything shifted. He snapped, he hit me, hard. And told me that if I ever tried to leave him, he'd have Jorge killed. And I believed him. Don wasn't bluffing. He had power, connections, and people everywhere. That was the beginning of my prison. I spent a year locked in one of his homes, guarded day and night. I couldn't leave unless he allowed it. The phone was locked away in his office. Even when I convinced him to let me out to shop, a guard was always at my side. I was trapped, addicted to cocaine and prescription drugs. My mind was fog, my body dependent. Days blurred together. I'd wake up, get high, and pass out again. And every time I thought about my baby girl, about Camila, the pain was unbearable. So I used more. It was easier than feeling. There was never a shortage of drugs. Or guilt. Sebastián, I know I've thrown a lot at you, but you need to understand where I came from. To understand where this all leads. For Camila to ever trust me again, I need you to trust me first. You're the only one who can help her see I'm not her enemy.
I turn toward the dirty window. The glass is so fogged I can barely see the dawn trying to break through. Camila. I picture her face. The way it looked that night when she saw what happened to her dad. That kind of pain never fades. And now this. How much can one person endure? And she doesn't even know I'm gone. By now, Mari must be tearing through New York, turning over every stone trying to find me. The first glow of sunrise slips over the skyline. I glance at Angela. Her face carries the years. Lines etched deep, not just from age, but from pain.
suffering, regret. I exhale, steadying myself. Okay, I say quietly. Go ahead and finish the story. How did we get here? How did you end up with Victor?
For it to make sense, I need to give you more of the backstory. In 2002, a year after I left New York, Don finally let me make a call. It was to my sister. He wanted to prove he wasn't keeping me prisoner, to keep up appearances. I told her I was fine, but she didn't believe me. She begged him to let her come see me, or she'd call the police. He agreed. When she flew in, he picked her up himself and brought her to a hotel where I was waiting. He didn't want her anywhere near the house. For that short visit, I felt a spark of hope, that maybe somehow I could escape. Don stayed in the room the entire time, watching us like a hawk. But when he stepped out to take a call, I slipped a folded note into my sister's purse. In that letter, I told her everything. The abuse, the drugs, that I was trapped. I begged her to find Jorge, to help me. But 30 minutes later, Don came back and ended the visit. My sister begged him to let me go, said I wasn't his prisoner, that this was my choice. He gave me that look. The one that meant, say the wrong thing and someone will die. So I smiled. Told her I was fine. That I was where I wanted to be. That was the last time I ever saw her. Weeks later, I managed to befriend one of the housekeepers. Rosa. She'd been with Don for years and was one of the few people he trusted. Rosa told me she had a daughter about my age and that if her daughter were trapped the way I was, she'd want someone to help her too. She smuggled me a phone hidden in her laundry cart. I called my sister, told her Jorge knew the truth and wanted to help. But they had no way to find me. We made a plan. My sister would reach out again through Rosa. For a few days, I stayed sober, desperate to think clearly, to prepare. But before we could act, Don told me to pack my bags. Said we were going on a trip. My gut told me it wasn't a vacation. Next thing I know, we're on a plane to the Dominican Republic. Later, I found out Don had recording devices planted all over the house. He'd heard my conversation with my sister. And that was it. The trap closed. The story of those next 20 years, that's for another day. To summarize it, when I arrived in the Dominican Republic, I discovered I was pregnant. My first of 2 children with Don. The second was born 2 years later. Sebastián, I've made unforgivable mistakes. But everything I've done since then has been to protect Camila from the same darkness that swallowed me. If she's ever going to trust me again, if she's ever going to believe I'm not her enemy, she needs to hear it from you.
She's asking me to bridge a lifetime of lies, and I don't know yet if I can. She glances toward Tony, the same bodyguard who handed me the water earlier. There's a small smile on her face, the kind a mother gives when she's about to drop a life-altering truth.
Sebastián, meet Tony, my second-born, and Camila's brother.
Tony steps forward and extends his hand. I reach out on autopilot, my brain short-circuiting as our palms meet. What kind of telenovela am I in? My mind races. Camila's brother? Her mother alive? What's next? Angela watches me closely, reading every twitch in my jaw, every question forming behind my eyes.
Tony is nothing like his father. He's been my rock since the day he was born. Together, we've been planning our escape for years. As for my other child, he's Don's creature, his protégé. There's no saving him. So here we are, almost caught up. Tony and I have been in hiding from Don ever since we took what he thought was an extended vacation, one we never returned from. Using the connections he built under Don's empire, Tony got us new identities. We've been living in Europe ever since. From there, we built something good. A business that helps women escape their own monsters. You wouldn't believe how many of them are trapped by men who claim to love them. Even from a distance, I've kept tabs on Camila. Made sure she was safe. Tony still has eyes inside Don's network. People who feed us information. A few weeks ago, one of those contacts reached out. Said Don's looking for a tape. Something he believes Camila has.
I tense at the mention of a tape. Angela doesn't seem to notice and nods.
That's where your brother came in. I didn't know much about Victor, just that he was one of Don's recruits. Young, impressionable. The kind of boy Don loved to mold. I met him once, in 2008, when he came to the Dominican Republic. He looked wrecked, gaunt, nervous, addicted. That night, Don and Victor sat outside drinking. I stayed by the window, listening. Victor told Dawn that Jorge had been handled.
Handled. That's how killers talk. Angela's voice trembles, but she keeps going.
I knew exactly what that meant. Dawn had sent Victor to kill Jorge. Your brother did it. For him. And that same night I heard Victor beg Dawn to get you out of prison. He told him you were no longer a threat. Jorge was gone. Camila had vanished. I'd never seen a grown man cry the way your brother did. He begged. Pleaded. But Dawn just laughed and told him everything was exactly as it should be. And that if he opened his mouth, he'd never meet his new baby. That was the night I decided to get clean. To stop running from the monster I'd helped create. The night I started planning the end of it all.
The words escape my mouth before I even realize I've said them. Wait. New baby, I say, my voice rising. You have a kid? I turn toward Victor. He's still standing at the window, his reflection fractured by the grime-streaked glass.
Yeah, she turned 17 this year. For their safety, I haven't had contact in 10.
He says it so casually, like it's just another fact, another scar on the pile. He doesn't even look at me. Just keeps staring out that window like he's been aging in real time. And somehow, I feel sorry for him. Angela's voice cuts through the silence.
Sebastián, Don has broken a lot of people. He sells dreams that turn into nightmares. I've watched it for decades. He's obsessive paranoid. All those years of cocaine have rotted his mind. Tony's network, both from his years under Don and the ones he's built since, keeps us informed. That's how I found out who you'd become. That you weren't just surviving, you were running a high-end security firm. That's why we're here. I believe God aligned this meeting. When I learned Don was hunting that tape and your brother was involved, and when Tony discovered you were out of prison and building a name in security. I knew we needed to find Victor and bring you here.
I run a hand through my hair, exhaling. After the last few weeks I've had, I think I'm done questioning what's possible. I look at her and ask, so do you have a plan, or is that why I'm here? Angela nods toward Tony.
I'll let Tony take over. He's the brains behind this operation.
My head is pounding, a steady pulse that won't quit. I take a breath, steady my voice. Where's my phone? Tony, Camila's brother, moves away from the door and stands beside Angela, his mother, Camila's mother. This shit just keeps getting weirder. Camila's gonna need a lot of Maggie's meds when she finds out about this. He's young, early 20s, maybe. Too young to have seen the kind of darkness that makes a man run. And yet, here he is, carrying it like armor.
Your phone was left in your apartment. The last thing we need is a tracker leading someone here.
I curse under my breath. My muscles tighten instinctively. The weight of the gun in my hand gives me some illusion of control. But without my phone, I've got no communication, no lifeline. My brain switches into training mode, escape routes, weapon positions, distance to the door, to each person in the room, every angle, every threat. It's second nature by now. But this isn't a standard assessment. This isn't business. This is personal. Angela's calm voice cuts through my thoughts.
You have every right to be suspicious, Sebastián. But believe me, if I wanted you dead, we wouldn't be sitting here having a conversation. Please listen to Tony.
Her tone is firm, deliberate. The kind of voice that leaves no room for argument. I don't respond. I just sit there, eyes on her, trying to figure out if she's manipulating me or begging me to believe her. I look over at Tony, and for some reason, I feel for him. He reminds me of so many young men I've mentored. Boys who never had a chance to grow up before life taught them how cruel survival can be. He starts talking, and his tone is steady, respectful, almost awkward. Like he's trying to make peace with the ghost of a family he's never known.
Hi, first off, thank you for taking care of Camila, the sister I've never met. As Mom mentioned, we've been keeping track of her for years, so in a way I feel like I know her, even though that's unfair to her. I've tried to convince Mom to reach out, but fear is a hard thing to outrun. I might be young, but I've lived the kind of life that makes you older before your time. My childhood wasn't normal, not even close. I've always been a bit of a geek, though. Computers were my escape, and hacking became, well, my thing. When you grow up locked inside a gilded cage, you learn to make your own doors. In 2021, Mom finally told me the truth. About Don, about Jorge, about everything. By then, I'd already seen too much to think he was just some businessman. I knew the kind of monster he was. The moment I heard the whole story, I made a decision. I was going to get us out. Right before we escaped, I overheard Don talking with one of his associates. I wasn't supposed to hear it, but I caught a name. Camila. He was paranoid you'd find her, Sebastián. He was terrified of it. That's when I realized you weren't his enemy. You were his fear. When we finally pulled off the escape, I reached out to a few trusted people who used to work for Don. The kind of people who were loyal until they had too much to lose. They confirmed everything. That's when I made it my mission to find you. I've been tracking you through your foundation. Publicly, nothing invasive, but it's clear you run things quietly, efficiently. You keep your name out of places it doesn't belong. That's smart. So here we are. As Mom mentioned, Don's hunting for a videotape, the same one your brother asked you to track down. But here's the truth. That tape is just a piece of the puzzle. We already have enough to bury him. Evidence, testimonies, financials. But Don's reach is deep, and every time someone gets close, they disappear. He's got friends in every agency, every corner of power. So going through official channels? Not an option. One idea I've been developing, Don's become a liability. The same powerful men who used him are now terrified he'll talk. I've compiled a list of those associates, politicians, financiers, producers, people with everything to lose. If we move carefully, we can turn them against him, pressure them, corner them, make them take Don out of play. You've got the resources, the training, the reach. We've got the intel. Together, we can end this.
The room falls into thick silence again, the kind that hums with possibility and danger. I study him in silence. The way he talks, the way his mind works. Sharp, organized, dangerous in a good way. He's young, yeah, but this isn't some kid spinning stories. This is someone who's lived in the shadows and learned how to turn them into strategy. And for the first time since I woke up in that warehouse, I start to believe there might actually be a way out of this mess. I drag a hand down my face and take a slow breath, forcing my body to catch up with my mind. My instincts are still screaming move, strike, control. But I know better than to make decisions like this while my system is flooded with adrenaline. Fight or flight is useful in a firefight. It's lethal in strategy. I look at Angela first. Then Tony. Then Victor, still near the window, still carrying the weight of 20 years like it's stitched into his spine. I hear you. I say finally, my voice steady even though my chest feels tight. And I believe you believe this will work. I pause, choosing my next words carefully, but I can't agree to anything tonight. Tony's jaw tightens just slightly. Angela doesn't interrupt. That alone tells me she understands power dynamics better than most people I've met. I need time, I continue. Real time. I need to meet with my team. Look at what you've compiled. Cross-check it against what we already have. I can't think clearly like this, I admit, tapping my temple once. My body's still in survival mode, and that's how people make stupid mistakes. I don't make moves blind. Not anymore. I shift my stance, squaring my shoulders. This is the part where the air changes. That said, I add, you didn't bring me here for a conversation you plan to let walk away. Angela studies me. Unreadable. Tony's eyes sharpen. Calculating. If I'm going to step into this, I say I need assurance. Collateral. Victor finally turns fully toward me. Either Victor, I say evenly, or Tony comes with me. The words land hard. Not as a prisoner, I clarify, though I don't soften my tone. As insurance, someone I can keep eyes on while I regroup. You want my trust. That's the price. For a moment, no one speaks. The old warehouse creaks around us like it's holding its breath. I meet Angela's gaze and don't look away. This isn't a threat, I say. It's reality. I walk out of here to think, or I don't walk out at all. And if I walk out, I don't do it empty-handed. My pulse finally slows, just a fraction. Your move. The sun is climbing outside now, bleeding pale light through the dirty window. Morning doesn't mean safety, but it does mean the game has officially changed. Victor reacts before anyone else does. Of course he does. He straightens from the window, finally turning to face me fully, disbelief flashing across his face like I've just crossed some invisible line.
Absolutely not. You're not taking me anywhere.
Tony doesn't say a word. He doesn't step back either. He just looks at Victor, then at Angela, then back at me. Calm. Grounded. Ready. That alone tells me everything I need to know. Victor steps forward, agitation finally cracking through his controlled exterior.
Sebastian, this isn't how this works. You don't get to.
I cut him off with a look. Not anger. Not rage. Just the kind of quiet authority that used to shut rooms down when I wore a badge. You don't get to decide that anymore, I say evenly. The words land harder than I intend, but I don't take them back. Victor stares at me, stunned, something wounded flickering behind his eyes.
So that's it? You get to play hero now.
I let out a slow breath through my nose. No. I get to play smart. I glance at Tony again. He hasn't moved, hasn't flinched. If anything, he looks resolved. Victor, I continue, my tone lowering. You're compromised. Emotionally, psychologically, chemically. Pick one. Don has had his hooks in you for years. That makes you unpredictable. Silence stretches, thick and suffocating. The kind that presses on your eardrums and dares someone to blink first. Victor's jaw tightens. I can see the fight in him, the instinct to push back, to lash out. He's lived too long reacting instead of choosing. Angela breaks the silence before he can.
Victor.
Just his name. No judgment. No softness either. Angela rises from the couch, slow and deliberate. She doesn't step between us like a mother would. She positions herself beside Tony instead, grounded, measured.
He's right. You are compromised. And that's not an insult. That's reality. You've been living under Don's shadow for years. Fear, guilt, addiction. They don't disappear just because you want them to. They bleed into every decision. I'll have my team drop you off closer to the city. You can call your people from there and they can pick you up.
I don't argue. I don't thank her either. Right now, this is about movement, not trust. I holster my gun and straighten. Victor rises beside me, slower, heavier. He keeps his eyes fixed somewhere just past my shoulder, like meeting my gaze might crack something he's barely holding together. As we move toward the door, I feel Angela's stare on my back. Hope braided tightly with fear. The kind of look you give someone when you're gambling everything on their next move. I know it then. The moment we step outside, nothing is going to be the same. Before we reach the exit, Tony and one of the bodyguards step forward. They're holding black cloths. Angela speaks again, calm but firm.
It's best you don't know where we are, Sebastián. In case things don't go as planned.
I open my mouth to protest, but the decision's already been made. The cloth slips over my eyes, cutting the world to black. Beside me, Victor mutters a low curse under his breath. Then sound takes over. Boots on concrete. A door groaning open. The metallic slam of it closing behind us. An engine turns over. Deep, throaty, final. The vehicle lurches forward. And just like that, we're moving again. Blind, silent, and headed straight into whatever comes next.
That's it for this week's episode of Echoes of Us, but the story is far from over. New episodes drop every Thursday starting March 20th, so be sure to follow, subscribe, and never miss a moment. Thank you for listening and being part of the story. Your support means everything. If you enjoyed the episode, consider leaving a review or sharing it with a friend. It helps more listeners find us.